Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. So, Antonio Vargas improves his record to 18 wins with 10 KOs. One defeat, which was a one-round knockout, surprisingly. And he defeats Jonathan Rodriguez. Rodriguez is forced to retire after 7 rounds. His father, his adopted father, I think, pulled him out. Quite rightly so. Rodriguez had given absolutely everything, but had, at the end of the 7th round, was floored very heavily, almost on the bell. Managed to sort of claw his way up, but looked very, very wobbly. They had a look at him between rounds, and his father, who's also his trainer, pulled him out, which was the right decision. Now, this fight was a lot of fun. Rodriguez, 25 years old, Puerto Rican by birth, now I think a US citizen. Like I say, he was adopted when he was a boy by the guy who's now his father and is also his trainer. He was last seen knocking out Cal Yafai in 1 round, and that was at the back end of last year, back in November, I think it was. And he came into the fight with 17 wins, 1 defeat, which was a stoppage. I think he got stopped in 5 rounds back in 2020, 2019, something like that. And 17 wins with only 7 KOs, but he's got more power than that, certainly. He's also got a draw on his record from, I don't know when it was, something like 2021, something like that, against a journeyman. So he's kind of, I guess, when you consider he's 25 years old, maybe he's sort of learnt on the job, not always looked impressive, learnt from his mistakes, and he can come back from this fight. There's no doubt about it, because he's got something you can't teach, and that is guts and fighting spirit. I mean, this kid fought his heart out. He just didn't quite have it. He didn't quite have enough against Antonio Vargas. But in the opening round, there were shades of that Cal Yafai blowout in the first round, because towards the end of the round, Rodriguez caught Vargas with a right hand that put Vargas over. And this was after Vargas had been, hinting that he had the more natural physical strength and was kind of getting into his rhythm of hunting down Rodriguez. He got sloppy. He got caught pulling out. Rodriguez landed a right hand, and down goes Vargas on his back. It was towards the end of the first round. Then in the second round, Vargas sort of regained his momentum, starts really putting some pressure on Rodriguez. And right at the end of the second round, he fired a salvo, double-fisted salvo, and then he caught Rodriguez. Rodriguez, I think, took a knee, and then, over half a second afterwards, Vargas hit Rodriguez when he was on one knee. Rodriguez kind of spun round almost, but didn't complain and didn't sort of do a dying swan act. But it was clearly a punch after the bell, and a full-blooded punch, which Rodriguez, to his credit, actually took quite well. Well, the referee let them have the minute in between, because that was right at the end of the round. And then at the start of the third, he took 2 points off Vargas because of that infringement. And I agree with that. I think I think 2 points was accurate. So it went from being a 10-8 round for Vargas to, I guess you could say, an 8-8 round. And Rodriguez had also scored a 10-8 round in the first round because of the knockdown. So at this point, Rodriguez, after 2 rounds, was still 2 points ahead. It was a strange bit of weird scoring. 2 knockdowns, one for each guy, 2 points off, blah, blah, blah. But in the third round, from the third round onwards, gradually Vargas, like I say, he looked physically stronger. He looked like he was he had more power than Rodriguez. Vargas was hunting down Rodriguez, and he seemed to become more relaxed as the fight went on, probably because Rodriguez was having to use his power to try to keep Vargas off, and it wasn't really working. Rodriguez was starting to move an awful lot, skirting around the ring, whereas Vargas was kind of just walking forward with a lot of menace. A little bit in the front door, do you know what I mean? Rodriguez, his mistake was he was running, basically. He was moving backwards. He wasn't trying to box on the back foot. He was just trying to, not get hit. Well, the rounds were ticking by. Vargas was getting closer. Whenever Rodriguez committed himself, even if he landed, there was something waiting for him because Vargas would counter, a few check hooks into the mix. And you could tell by about the fifth round, you could tell this was Vargas grinding down, eroding Rodriguez's defence. If Rodriguez had a defence, most of his defensive work seemed to be using his feet. He did try and pot shot occasionally, Rodriguez, but to be honest, Vargas was landing all the full-blooded thudding punches, and Rodriguez, to his credit, was taking them. There was a lot of body work going on, which was a shame. Vargas threw one or two body punches on, nothing really consistent. But he didn't seem to really need to, because you just got the feeling. This was a 12-rounder, by the way, because this was an eliminator for a world title. Was it WBA bantam title? I don't know. It was a bantamweight final eliminator anyway. And you could just tell Vargas would eventually get to Rodriguez. And then at the end of that 7th round, it happened. The knockdown and the retirement after 7 rounds. So 27-year-old Vargas is going to get a shot at the world title. Jonathan Rodriguez showed a lot of heart, though, a ton of heart. And he's, like I say, only 29. He's been learning on the job again. He had that draw against a nondescript opponent, I think with a losing record, if I remember rightly. And he also suffered a 5-round stoppage to an undefeated guy in 2020. I mean, very early on in his career. But at 25, I'm glad he was pulled out of that fight, because he was taking too much punishment, and it was getting to the point where it would be one of those beatings where it takes years off your career. And the kid can come back. But Vargas, it'll be interesting to see him in with, fighting for the world titles, the bantamweight world titles. They are dominated by the Japanese at the moment. And we saw some good Japanese wins earlier today, actually, a card in Japan. So he's got his work cut out, Vargas, but good fighter, nonetheless. Good fighter. Will probably, if he wants a shot at world titles, he'll probably have to go to Japan to do it. But he'll bring it. He's got good. I like his style. It's exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him fight again. What do you think of this fight? A good bit of matchmaking by Matchroom on DAZN. This was on the DAZN card. The undercard of Belanga versus McCrory. Give me your opinion on this fight. What do you think of it? Any comments you got, leave them there. I'll have a read. I'll answer if I've got, answer as many as I can. And if you're new to the channel, you could subscribe. That would be a big help. And also hit the like button. I always appreciate your support in the channel. And yeah, good stuff. I'll catch you later. Bye for now.